Shout out to Cats Pod.
1 second. A great defensive play for Montana State.
Touchdown, Tommy Malone is electrifying.
Welcome to the Cats Pod. What's up, Podcats? Tough episode. Tough week so far. Just all around not what anybody was looking for. Happened on Monday night. What nobody was looking for. How you doing, Eric?
Oh, I don't know, man. I was, proud of the team. Just not quite the outcome that I think we all felt like it might be. But, overall, it was a crazy game and just came up a little short.
Yeah. And that's part of it that, it feels good that they made the comeback and everything, and it wasn't a blowout like we've seen in a lot of national championships, especially recently. Yeah. All the national championships have been complete blowouts, and the fact that this was objectively, if I was not a Cat fan, this would be a great game, very fun to watch. Yeah. But being a Cat fan, it was like the worst game of all time. It sucks so bad. It feels like, and it wasn't that they played the worst game of all time. It was so disheartening. After 15-0, everything's on the right track. It just felt like it was time and came up a little short. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, if you weren't a Cat fan, this was probably a game for the ages.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a dog in the fight or a North Dakota State fan. But, I'm just going to say what everyone else is thinking. Mm-hmm. My hatred for NDSU is so bad at this point. Like, honestly, I don't even care about the Grizzlies anymore. Like, NDSU has taken 100% of my hatred. And at this point, it's not even close.
Yeah, it is getting harder and harder not to hate NDSU. And just, like, they do have an absolute dynasty and everything, but just the internet has been so bad over the course of the last few days. Like, just the worst takes of all time. The worst takes of all time have just been slung around by, I don't even know, probably just trolls. How many of those people do you think are actually North Dakota State fans?
I don't know. Not very many.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were just waiting for a time where they could find something that Tommy doesn't do it perfectly.
Yeah.
And just run with it. Call you to saying this little trash can thing.
Yeah, it's
making this out to be a bigger deal other than he literally just pushed a trash can over.
Yeah.
It's such a stupid take. I don't understand. It's like, Tommy, you have been such a model citizen your entire life. Go tip some trash cans over. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Like, we weren't critical of Cam Miller and what he said after the SDSU game because he's talking the talk and walking the walk and all that stuff. But the thing is, Tommy doesn't talk. Like, he doesn't talk trash about anybody. He doesn't talk down to anybody. All he does is walk. And he goes into his press conference, and there's people all over that are tearing apart what he says in the press conference and trying to pick at whatever they can find. And it's like, with Tommy, you have to search through that thing with a fine-tooth comb if you're going to find anything that you can even spin as negative, or you can make him sound bad. But with Cam Miller, you don't have to look that hard.
No. And, in Tommy's press conference, it was immediately after the most emotional game of his entire career. If we're being truly, this was his last game as a Bobcat. They were so close. And I can guarantee you his attitude was a hell of a lot better than mine was after that game.
Could you imagine if you shoved a microphone in front of Eric Lauver right after that game?
Oh, man, I had several temper tantrums.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is Tommy absolutely balled out. The kid is unstoppable. North Dakota State didn't really have an answer for him in that second half.
No.
He kind of just did whatever he wanted to, and And I think that's why it was such a hard loss to take, because when he got that touchdown to Taco,
Yeah.
it just felt like destiny,
Yeah.
honestly.
I didn't want to say it, but the whole time leading up to the onside kick, I was just like, in my head, I'm like, 3% chance, okay? There's a 3% chance, but there's a chance that we get this ball back right now.
Chance.
And I didn't, I didn't say it out loud, but I could not stop myself from thinking it, that there's only a 3% chance on onside kicks. But it was the tale of two halves for the Cats. It really just comes down to that. They dug too big of a hole in the first half. Mistakes were made. It's really not any single person's blame. It's just something that happens in these championship games. And they still dug themselves out of that hole and had opportunities to win that game in the fourth quarter, where I was just begging for them to take advantage of them. And it was so close. And in championships, more than anything, it's that cliche that it's a game of inches. And these were inches off, not feet, not yards.
Yeah. And, social media, the news, everything is just ablaze with a bunch of real good armchair quarterbacks that think that they know how to coach their way out of a wet paper bag.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you have no idea what's going through everybody's minds. You have no idea what's going on with this team. You're not so everybody can make all kinds of different, they can say they would have done something different or they should have done this. And it's like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in the middle of this. It's like, things didn't go your way. It sucks. Get over it. But if I have to see anybody blaming any of the coaches or anything like that, I'm just going to have to spit or something. I don't know. I can't. It's to the point for me where it's just so obnoxious to listen to people complain. Like, yeah, it sucks. Let's just deal with it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start throwing blame around. And I just a minute ago had to post a comment on FCS Nation because those guys are still driving me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said that the Bobcats sprung a leak because we had some transfers in our coach. Those Tyler Walker and the offensive line coach are going to Temple, and it's like, this is what happens when you have good players in the FCS and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They get poached out from under your nose. I mean, it's happened to every single team in the FCS.
And those are the
FBS
same. The same people that were talking about how they sprung a leak and how everybody's leaving are the same people that were probably calling for Coach Walker's head 2 days ago. 2 days ago, they were like, he's trash, and we need to get rid of him. And then today, they're like, oh, everybody's trying to leave Montana State. Like, you were pretending like he wasn't good 2 days ago, and he's a great coach. And all the coaches are great. There was little mistakes made throughout the game that is human,
Yeah. And, I mean, who even knows? Things could have gone so differently with so many different calls. But, of course, hindsight is always 20/20.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just kind of left with what we got right now. And what I saw was a team that didn't have a very good first half turn around and have a great second half, and it was just not quite enough.
Yeah. It was super resilient team for sure.
I mean, from what I saw, that the one thing that is still on the back of my mind is Cam Miller's touchdown run. I mean, he had like 30 yards of room on either side, and that one was kind of deflating. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. The moment for me that really hurt was, I think we had like a 3rd and 6 situation, and Cam Miller threw that ball up to Bryce Lance, and he caught it inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that was the moment where I thought we were going to force him to punt the ball or go for a long field goal that they might miss, and then we'd have an opportunity to take the ball, score, and have the lead for the first time in the game. And when he caught that pass, I was just like, I just got to give it up to you. You're good.
Well, and the thing about Bryce Lance is that every once in a while you see one of those generational talents in the FCS.
Mm-hmm.
That he's one of them.
Yeah.
I honestly felt like the Bobcats had a great game plan for him. His catching ability is just stupid.
A lot of the catches he made were insane grabs.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I don't know how
you
you defend that better.
I mean, the kid is just special. There's no other word for what Bryce Lance is. And I felt like with what I saw with my own eyes at the game, I felt like the Bobcats did a respectable job against him, but you just can't fight greatness. I mean, it's like Dallas Goddard at SDSU when they came to Montana State.
Yeah.
He was just a different level of talent. And it's all you can do is minimize the damage. And sometimes you can't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like Tommy Mellott is a generational talent, and North Dakota State could not stop him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won the game, but Tommy had himself a night.
Yeah. Still played a very solid game. A lot of the team played a very solid game. Rylan Ort was all over the place.
Yeah, he was very good. I mean, really, it's kind of, we talked a little bit on the last episode that there was probably a chance that North Dakota State would get some quick points out there.
Yeah.
But we had faith that our defense, especially on the coach's side, would nip that in the bud. And I felt like that's what we saw. I mean, yeah, it wasn't a great first half for the defense, but they came back out at halftime and they figured it out.
Yeah, they made stops in order for us to be able to make that comeback. Like, it was a major thing.
Yeah.
This was a weirdly clean game for a championship too. There was no turnovers in the entire game.
No turnovers.
It was weird.
I do think that, being there, I felt like it was 60-40 Bobcats. And the fans were unreal loud. My ears were just ringing when North Dakota State was on defense. And, I feel like the crowd definitely played a part because they had quite a few false starts and offsides.
Yeah.
I feel like the crowd made a difference, but
it definitely seemed like it did because I feel like those are uncharacteristic penalties for North Dakota State. So there must have been some kind of factor in there, the fans getting into it or something like that,
Yeah, I agree. I was pretty blown away with how loud it was getting inside that field. I will say I am not a fan of Toyota Field.
Yeah.
That stadium it's okay, but food and beverages are insanely priced. And I don't know if you could tell on TV, but that field was just tore up after that game.
Yeah. It definitely looked pretty sketchy.
Yeah, I could see why somebody could get hurt on that field. I mean, it just was tore up.
Yeah.
And I will say it was cold in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wind had a bite to it, and it was pretty chilly.
Yeah. I was trying to find you in the crowd the entire time. I was looking for that 84 jersey, and then I saw a Snapchat, and I was like, "Oh, he's wearing his coat." So I can't even find him. He's wearing a blue coat in a sea of blue. Because there was a lot of Cat fans there. The Cat fans did travel well. I know that attendance doesn't matter that much when you've won your 10th national championship or whatever they're going to say to us, but I think it's cool that the fans show up and they support the team.
Yeah, it was the Cat fans, they really did well there. I was surprised that it wasn't closer to 50-50, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it was that's pretty reasonable 60-40 split there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was freaking loud, man. I'm not joking. I mean, I couldn't believe how loud it got on some of those touchdowns that the Cats scored there in the second half.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But yeah, it was, I don't know, man. We all wish we could go back and have another crack at it because Tommy was right when he said it. The better team sometimes doesn't win.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think the Cats were a better team all the way across the board. I mean, not by much, but they were the better team. And, oh, man, I know me saying that I wish I had another crack at it is nothing compared to what they probably feel, but
yeah. I feel like it's going to get lost in the shuffle just how historic and great this season was in general because of the way it ended. But I think it's important to bring up that this is always going to be remembered. And all these seniors that are on this team, they will always be remembered as one of the best Bobcat teams in the history of Montana State. Even though they didn't get the championship, came up against a tough team to beat. You got one game to do it, one and done, 1-0, and for the first time all season they didn't go 1-0, which sucks, but they're still in the record books in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I mean it was fun watching it. It was just tough, man. I don't know, and I feel terrible for those guys. I mean, just the seniors that we had and the way they have to go out again at the hands of North Dakota State. And I just keep coming back to the North Dakota State. Like, I hate them with such a passion right now. Like, I am so sick and tired of North Dakota State. I mean, it's not like the Grizzlies anymore. We had a tough time with the Grizzlies a while ago, but now it's not really the same as it used to be. Now you have North Dakota State, who somehow finds a way to beat us every single time we see them, and I am so sick and tired of it.
And it's been so close recently, where it's like it feels like we're just banging and banging and banging on that wall, and we cannot get through. And after the game, I just found myself thinking, like, if this team doesn't win a national championship, what does it take?
Yeah.
What does it take? Yeah.
I think I don't know. I mean, I'm still searching for answers, and today was tough watching, some special players hit the portal. But it is nice to see them getting some incredible offers. I mean, I think we all kind of expected. I mean, Connor Moore, I think we knew that was happening a while ago, so that one didn't hurt so much. We all kind of hoped that Scottrey would stick around maybe, but I think we all pretty much knew that Scottrey was probably going to get some big offers somewhere, and they sure came in in a hurry.
Yep.
And the surprise one, I think, was Rohan, really. I mean, that was that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I think it was just because he seemed like he's so tight with everybody that it was just a bit of a surprise, but I imagine he's got some offer somewhere, because that's going back to this little Facebook thing I'm in now with whoever posted that stupid comment. It's not like these guys are transferring just to go lateral or to crappy schools. I mean, Connor Moore, he's got I know he's got offers to Michigan State and Ohio State. Scottrey Humphrey has North Carolina, West Virginia. We're talking
big
about
schools. Like, it's not
Power 4. And our coaches got to keep their same exact position at an FBS school.
Yep.
I mean, that's in itself a huge promotion. And it's just like, there's no leak. It's just, this is how the FCS is now. If you have great talent, it's going to find its way to a big school. I mean, it's happened to every Big Sky school. I mean, Idaho lost a ton. The Riley Wilson, he left them to go after someone else. I mean, if you have good players, they are going to go somewhere else. It's just a fact of life. We can't keep up with that kind of money.
Yeah. Can't keep up with the money and just the opportunities, the exposure, the possibilities of going to the next level. It's much easier when you're at one of those FBS schools compared to FCS. You have to be above and beyond. You have to be one of those guys like Cooper Kupp, or like you were talking about earlier with Goddard. You got to be one of those dudes to make it out of the FCS into the NFL. And it's tough to do.
I think I think this is enough depressing talk for one episode. We can rehash the depressing stuff when we both feel a little better about it.
Okay.
I feel like this is a good time to talk about
Is there
an
positive
early
news?
preview. Well, just an early preview because, you know, we lost some transfer portal stuff today, but we did get some good news. JT Reed is going to exercise his medical red shirt from 2023 and come back to our offensive line.
That is awesome. He seems like a key to Cat culture. Yeah.
That's a huge get, and it's one less question mark about next year. And yeah, I think a lot of, especially like those bigger news media outlets like, Skyline and I know Victor Flores for sure said it, but he kept saying, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And I get that to a certain extent, but at the same time, I look at what else has transpired in the Big Sky Conference, and I look at what's happened to the Montana State Bobcats. And yeah, we lost some studs to the portal and to graduation. But if you really look at what the Bobcats are right now, the defense is still going to return quite a few guys. Now, a lot of those guys weren't supposed to be playing. They got put in there because next man up injury stuff.
Yep.
But they got a year under their belts now. A lot of the defense returns. The defense is going to be pretty good. And I'm just going to tell you right now, like that Takari Carr, defensive back, that kid's a stud.
Yeah.
He's coming in. Andrew Powdrill's still there. We have Danny Yu's brother back there at safety. Caden Dowler will be back at some point.
Yeah.
We have Neil Daly, Bryce Grebe, possibly that Crahi from Great Falls at the linebackers. And then our defensive line, we lose a generational talent in Brody, but we have almost that whole line returning.
Yeah.
Kenny Iden, he's come. I mean, assuming we don't lose anyone else to the portal, but you look at the defensive line, it's Alec Eckert, Zach Black, Zach Cruz, Kenny Iden, Paul Brott. I don't have the roster in front of me, but those are just off the top of my head kids that had major impacts to this season, all coming back. Like the defense is going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And then on offense, there's a lot to look forward to there too. I mean, we have somebody who seems to be a fairly capable quarterback in Chance Wilson. We'll see what happens with, we'll see what your dad just texted me.
Well, we have a legitimate quarterback competition that's going to be going on this time, which we haven't seen in a long time. Like we'll have people competing, and that'll be fun to watch over the offseason,
Yeah, and I'm guessing that we're probably just going to stick with what we have and not hit the portal for a quarterback. But I mean, I could be wrong there. But I mean, even if you get just decent quarterback play, you don't even have to have a Tommy back there. I don't think.
No.
You still have Adam Jones. You still potentially have Julius Davis. You have Colson Kuhn back there at running back. And then that Ontario Latin Henley, who showed a lot of promise in some limited, somewhat limited snaps this year, is a very good player. And then at wide receiver, you still have Taco freaking Dowler.
Yeah.
Ryan King hopefully is back. I don't know what Jacob Trimble. We have some very skilled players, and then we still have Hunter Province, who's a young kid that is pretty darn athletic and very fast.
Yep.
And then our offensive line, I think the thing about it is the backups for our offensive line were better than a lot of starters on other teams in the FCS.
Yep.
You get JT Reed. You have Titan Fleshman. I mean, these are, all conference level guys that are coming back. There's a bunch of them on that offensive line that are all coming back. And there's still guys we haven't even seen on two deeps yet.
Yeah.
Like
very promising guys that we were breaking down when the recruit list came out last year.
Yeah. I mean, everybody remembers Dylan Rollins. I mean,
Mhm.
this was a guy who was recruited at FBS, took a mission, and decided he wanted to play full time.
Yeah. That's going to be huge for us. It's going to help us out a ton in these situations. And above everybody, like, there's a lot of talent on the roster, but the most important thing, we still have Brent Vegan. We still have Coach, who's created the culture and everything, who's created the environment for greatness to start going. I truly feel, since we're off of the negative stuff right now, I truly feel this is the beginning of the story. I thought it was the end. I thought that this was the culmination of a lot of hard work, but I think that this is honestly a team where we're going to look back and we're going to go, that's when it all started. That's when we became the Montana State of now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's really easy to sit here and focus on losing the national championship game. But the thing is that I feel like this year these guys created something that everyone else can use going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the team is going to be good next year. I mean, and you can, if I don't know if the listeners need more for me to convince them, but I mean, you can look at every team in the Big Sky Conference. Honestly, what they lost, what they graduated away, what the transfer portal took from them, nobody got better.
Mm-hmm.
No team got better. I mean, you can go, like, you think about Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
They lost some pretty good players to the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they got any better. Eastern Washington lost everything. They're back to square one. The Grizzlies lost basically their entire team to graduation, and anybody else who they had that was any good decided to transfer, i.e. Sawyer Racanelli and Riley Wilson.
Yeah.
Idaho lost. I mean, they did get quite a bit back, but they lost all their good players.
Mm-hmm.
They all left. So even Weber lost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Colorado lost its only all-conference player.
Yeah.
I mean, Portland State graduated Shashere. They have really nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
Idaho State lost players. I mean, it's the only team that brought actual good transfers in so far are the Grizzlies and Sac State.
Yeah.
Because they've had such a long offseason, really.
Mm-hmm.
But Sac State brought a whole bunch of guys in. The Grizzlies are bringing a bunch of transfers in.
Yeah.
And I think that we've shown, or at least the Cats have shown, that it's better to build, not buy.
Mm-hmm. You got to fill in certain spots with those transfers, but at the same time, you need to have that foundation. If the foundation is messed up, then the whole team's going to be messed up. And the Cats do have a solid foundation. They can add some pieces, but the foundation is always solid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I am pretty convinced at this point that the Big Sky Conference, regardless of what we lose, is still attainable.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, UC Davis, they lose Land Larison and Miles Hastings. I mean, that's their entire team. They got that Rex Connors or whatever back on defense. He's coming back, but their offense is going to take a massive blow.
Yeah.
South Dakota State lost a ton of guys. I mean, North Dakota State's graduating a bunch of guys. I mean, nobody is going to get better this year. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a ton of reason to be optimistic about the Bobcats next year, because honestly, when I look at our team, I see a bunch of guys that, are going to get their opportunity to play. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of guys who have earned their opportunity to play already this year.
Yeah.
That are all coming back. And I'm just going to say it now. Their defense is going to be pretty good. Mm-hmm. I really believe it.
Yeah.
That's my motivational talk for a post-championship loss.
There you go. There is definitely a lot to look forward to. We will definitely get into more transfer portal talk and recruits throughout the offseason. Right now, still pretty fresh. I'm not ready to be super positive yet. Not that I'm down on the Bobcats. I'm just not ready to be positive in general. You know,
Yeah, no, I
when I
feel like
watched
that's
the press
super fair.
conference, when I watched the press conference with Tommy, and Coach Vegan and Paul Broad up there, I'm not too man to admit it. It got very It got very the air was real dusty in my office. We'll put it that way. The air was real dusty. I started to tear up a little bit. I got a little sad. It's been a tough few days, and then these transfers kind of took it out of me as well today too. But you just listing off all those guys, you brought me right back, Eric. You brought me right back. I'm ready for the future. I'm ready to keep this program building because they do have a solid opportunity to keep building into the future.
Yeah, they do, and they have such a good foundation that they can build off of. These players have, I just think that this environment is so conducive to success that they're in, that I feel like they're, it's not just plug and play. They've been groomed for this for the last couple of years. And, next man up 1-0 starts off in Eugene, Oregon next year.
Yeah.
And everybody, yeah, it sucks to, to lose like that. But for everybody saying, if not now, when? Well, it's not like we're going to be terrible. We're going to be a good football team. We're going to compete at the top of the Big Sky Conference, and every other team will get worse. There's no way that, if Bryce Lance comes back to NDSU, that might, I don't know. I just don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
Honestly.
The big thing is just simply trusting the coaching staff we have and the people who are developing these players. Because the same recruiters and the same coaches, for the most part, that brought in all this talent that we have right now, still there.
Yeah.
They're still there, and they're going to be bringing in new people, A lot of the major recruiting stuff is what's going to help us out going into the future. And we dominated. We got the best players in Montana in this, in just the high school signings. And if we keep doing that, we're going to see success throughout time. The transfers will come. The transfers will go. That's icing. But we've got the cake. We've got the cake already set up.
Well, and, we've already seen proof that you don't need to rely on the transfer portal. You don't necessarily need the transfer portal to have a good team. We had, let's see, new to this team this year was Ryan King, Alec Eckert, and Rohan Jones. Am I missing anybody?
That's all I can think of the major ones.
I'm probably missing somebody, but either way,
all the guys that got a lot
that
of
is that's a very small percentage of the team, really.
Yeah.
To bring in and still have a 15-0 season. So, I personally believe more in what I think is Coach Vegan's mindset, that you build it from the ground up and then just keep on riding it.
Yeah.
And you'll have a good program, which is why I'm not overly concerned about losing Tyler Walker.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's not that it's not a big loss, but I know who else we have on the team. I'm not saying they're not going to interview outside candidates.
Yeah.
But Justin Udy and Sam Mix are two pretty damn good coaches.
Oh, yeah. And they've done a lot for the team recruiting-wise and behind the scenes that not a lot of people know about. Yeah.
Yeah. They are two incredible coaches. They're really good recruiters. I would not – it's kind of like Coach Daly getting that job. We were stoked about it.
Yeah.
And I would be stoked if either one of those guys got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the offensive line coach, how many offensive line coaches have we had now that have been poached by FBS schools? I mean, Montana State
Baker's
might be
dozen at this point. I don't know.
Montana State might be offensive line coach U at this point.
Yeah, we got to figure out like the coaching tree of offensive line coaches and where they've ended up. That'll be a good project for the offseason.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, I have too much faith. What Vegan has given us no reason not to put complete faith in him. Yeah. How many Bobcat head coaches have played for 2 national titles in their tenure?
I can't name a single one.
No, there aren't any. I mean, we've had good coaches in the past, but we've never had a coach with this level of continued success because, the first year it was like, well, that's Choate's team. He just took Choate's team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were still in the playoffs all the next years, had some tough losses, and then he took, kind of, I mean, we had some guys that were on that team, but not a ton.
Yeah.
Back to the national title. I mean, we're getting too spoiled as Bobcat fans, Ben.
That's
we
factual.
Used to be just happy about beating the Grizzlies. Now we're all pissed off about losing natties.
Yeah, that really does put it into perspective. I hadn't even thought about that this week. I've been too busy with my pity party to remember when 2-8 was a great record.
As long as we beat the Grizzlies.
2-8, but we win Brawl of the Wild used to be an amazing season. So we have gotten very spoiled. And I think above all else, it's just a huge thank you to this team, to these coaches, to everybody, just for giving us this season because it was very special. And it was a joy to talk about 99% of the time. They helped us out immensely, getting more listeners this year just because of how great this team was.
Yeah, I mean, that is 100% the truth right there. But, I mean, it's like, especially these players that really, really go above and beyond to show their appreciation for the community and the fan base, like Ty McCullough, for instance.
Yep.
Like that guy has gone out of his way to embrace the town, embrace the fans, everything. Like players like him are special. And, we were pretty damn lucky to get him to Bozeman.
Yep. Sad to see you go. So happy that you were here, Ty. So happy that you were here.
Yeah. Losing all those, the Tommies, the Brodies, Marcus Weir, all those great in-state talents and everything. That's why I think half of the reason we're so disappointed is that they didn't get their ring, and we know that they deserved it.
Yeah.
They were the best team in the FCS. I think everybody pretty much knows it. They got somehow, and I think that's why it sucks so bad, because Tommy Malott doesn't have a chip to take home with him. I don't know.
It is what it is.
I don't know, Ben. It was a tough game.
Yeah. It was a tough game to watch.
We can dissect that bad boy later.
There'll be plenty of time, These wounds are a little bit too fresh right now. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Anything could happen in the future. Sky's the limit.
I mean, going forward, I think we probably will see a couple of additions. I'm not expecting much though. But I wouldn't be surprised. Our running back room is we lost Elijah Elliott, Marquis early.
Yeah.
Back in the December window or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a running back come in or something like that, just for some added depth, because by my metrics, we're down to 4. But, it all kind of depends on if Julius is going to come back next year. Boy, I hope he does, but wouldn't be surprised to see that. And maybe some kind of utility player like Rohan Jones that kind of fits in multiple places on the offense, depending on what schemes they're trying to run. But, other than that, I don't really see another super need on the team. I feel like the DBs are going to be pretty darn good, really. Linebackers sure have a lot of playing time under their belt right now. And the defensive line is pretty damn good right now. So I wouldn't be surprised. And the offensive line is pretty damn good. Yeah. We're going to have another great offensive line next year. So my guess is we see 2, maybe 3 tops incoming transfers.
I don't know. I think you'll be surprised. I think they'll just fill some roster spots with some transfers at a certain point.
Yeah.
One running back that was kind of a late addition, I may be incorrect on this, but I believe Grant Vegan's teammate at Gallatin, who's a running back, got signed by the Cats late after like the signing day. And I looked up some of the film while I was looking for Grant Vegan stuff, and he is a talented back. Don't know if he'd be ready day one. Maybe a day one ready kind of guy, but it's still talent from Montana that's in the pipeline in that running back room where you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, and usually we don't see a ton out of true freshmen, first year players, but you never know. But I mean, I like the idea of rocking with the team that you recruited.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. I mean, we have seen Vegan's done a great job of finding specific transfers to make a big impact on the team. Ty McCullough, Lanyata, unfortunately didn't get him last year because of the eligibility deal, but you get those 2 guys and Rohan, and we brought that up earlier, but he's done such a good job of finding the right fit transfers. Not a bunch of them, but the right fits.
And always the right type of mentality, the right kind of personality, the right kind of people. They always feel like they belong here as soon as they show up.
Yeah, and that's a credit to him because those guys have fit right in and done a world of good for us, and that's kind of what I expect from this year. Just a couple really good fit players that can impact maybe more immediately than down the road. Maybe be immediate players, but I don't know, man. Like it sucks, and I'm definitely not quite as depressed as I was, but I've had a lot of time to think about next year right now, and I'm already excited for next season.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel a lot better than I did when we started recording this episode. Just us having a chance to talk about it has helped me out a lot with it, so it feels good.
Yeah.
Feels like things could be looking up later on, and it's not the end of the world right now.
Yeah, and we have a lot of time to go through the negatives, a whole offseason go through the negatives, so those will be a little easier to discuss once we've had some more time to digest it. But right now, I just want everybody to remember that the whole FCS is going to get worse next year.
Everybody. Nobody's going to get better.
Everybody. I mean, the transfer portal comes for everybody.
Yep. It giveth and
not
it taketh
just
away.
The Bobcats. And those reporters from the state of Montana, they can make a big deal about all the transfers out of Montana State, but the fact of the matter is, doesn't matter what team that you're on in the FCS. If Ohio State, Michigan State, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, I'm just naming schools that have offered our players. North Carolina, Bill Belichick is recruiting Scott Trey.
Yeah,
like nobody is turning that down, and good on them. They deserve every good opportunity that comes their way, and they deserve to cash in on their hard work if the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the media in Montana definitely skews it to make it look like the Bobcats are a sinking ship. That's a bunch of horse pucky. And the only reason these big dudes are transferring is because they have legit Power 4 options. Like Connor Moore is going to make life-changing money on this move.
Just think about last year, too, and how many transfers, how many huge, very talented transfers we had at the end of last season. And still filled the spots, still built an amazing roster, and went 15-0, and we're 3 points away from winning the national championship. So we can deal with some transfers.
Yeah. It's not a sinking ship. We still have the players to make another good run. It's not like our whole team is just up and gone. A few pieces are gone. Graduation comes for everybody, so it's not like that's any kind of surprise. I mean, everybody knew that Tommy was leaving. You don't think Vegan knew that before he re-signed a contract? Like, he's got a plan going forward. Like, his job for next year started Monday at like midnight,
probably.
So I don't know. I feel like we're in pretty good hands next year.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Bobcats will be overwhelming favorites.
No.
But
I
think
they are going to be so underrated next year. I can guarantee you they'll be like 16 on the first coaches poll.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to love it. We're going to love being an underdog. It's going to be fun.
We can play that card.
I love that.
We're going to get little dog masks and wear them on every episode. I did assure a few people that the sea shanty would get released.
I don't know. I told you. You keep moving the goalposts on me. Honestly, I just don't have time to make a music video right now, but I will find time.
We got to have something for the guys during the off season.
Yeah.
And gals.
Oh, we definitely will.
Yeah.
Lots of great stuff this off season. Hopefully we'll be bringing you guys some interviews and lots of good stuff.
Yeah, we'll have a good off season. I wish we were discussing a national championship win for the entire off season, but we aren't.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we do have what I think is going to be another good football season coming up. So rest assured, Bobcat Nation, this is not the end of the world. It may feel like it, but it is not.
No. The sun will rise. The sun will set. Coach Vegan will bring in some more talent, and we'll have another great Bobcat season.
Yeah, and I can't wait. It's going to be a long one again.
Oh, yeah. This wait is the worst.
At least we got to play into January this year.
It's a much shorter off season than it was last year. That feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well, Ben, I don't really want to talk about football anymore right now.
I get that. All right. Thank you, Bobcats, and thanks everybody for listening to this episode. Go ahead and follow us on X or Instagram at CatsPod. Go ahead and check us out on YouTube at The CatsPod. And we will catch you for some off-season breakdowns throughout the next few months. See you guys.
Adios.